Hello and welcome to this summary of my first playthrough of the Digimon Vice hardcore hack. This hack is everything my child self ever wanted for Digimon World, and I will take you on to the journey of my very first playthrough of this great hack. Digimon World has a special place in my heart ever since I've been a child, and when I heard that there is a modification on hack made by Vice for this game, I had to start it. This hack has so many quality of life changes, so many improvements, actually gives you new Digimon to trace to, and so much more. This is also the hardcore variant, which improves the enemy Digimon stats significantly. There are also battles added for non-combat recruitable Digimon, or previously non-combat recruitable Digimon, like Coelamon or Meramon. There are a lot of other optional patches that I will go over as we progress in this video, because if I would go over every single one of them, it would just overwhelm and bore everyone right now. So, the last thing that I want to add is that I will not be using battle items like healing items in battle, because this just makes the game way more interesting, and because you can just get way too strong if you just abuse the shit out of healing items. So, as you can see, I named my game file Vice HC. This is just because I have multiple save files with different challenges or topics, and this is just for me to know which file is which playthrough. My Digimon gets the name Ren, which is my favorite character in all of fiction out of Threads in the Sky. As you will see immediately, there are different starters you can get, and we actually get Palmon, which was great because Palmon is a childhood favorite of mine, and I was very happy to not have another Gabumon or Agumon playthrough. So, while this is a blind playthrough, I had 1 or 2 tests before that went on for 10 in-game days, and the first thing I tried was, does this mod actually work? Because I had some issues getting the mod running, which was my fault, not the mod's fault. So what I did is I just ran into the native forest and be like, okay, let's see if this mod works, and we'll just figure it out. And yeah, the mod works. This Greymon is not beatable for us right now. This Greymon has, as you can see, an HP pool of 2000 HP, and his stats are at around 300, 350, so his offense, his defense, and everything else. So what I did was, I spent the time training. I dodged around the Greymon because we had to get food, because we had limited food, and as soon as Palmon will digivolve, we will have a problem. So what I did was I made the Coelamon event, which unfortunately does not do much right now because Coelamon is a fight. So we had the problem that the shops were unavailable to us, which made healing items very limited. And since we were not able to fight anything, the only solution was to get back into the city. As you can see here, kiting Greymon with Palmon to get back into the green gym. So what we did is we just leveled at the gym. And the stat that I leveled the most was the brain stat, because I wanted to get as many techniques as possible in the early game. And you can see here we actually got Warcry, and on the next stage, because you learn techniques at the 50s of every stat, here at 200 we learn Wind Cutter. And Wind Cutter was actually massive, because in this game, in this modification, there are moves that get boosted, and Wind Cutter is the boosted move from Palmon, and also, as you can see, the Digimon that we will digivolve into, Agumon. Tech Boost just means that if the move is used by a specific Digimon, it gets boosted a lot. So as you can see, or as you did see, Palmon had a base strength of, I think it was 278, and for Agumon it is actually 500. I have to admit, I spent a lot more time training than I should have, because I was still scared because of Greymon's stats, because as you can see, we're still not even close to 300. But after a while I was like, I really do not want to continue on training, because this is just boring, this is tedious. I can save in the Digimon's house, so let's just go and give the Greymon battle a try. You'll see my stats after the fight. I will try to show them as much as possible. It's just that there was so much grind in the early game. Like, we are at 11 minutes in this video right now. This was a grind of like multiple hours, especially later. As you can see, I did not expect to win this fight actually. I just went in and then I saw the damage that Angemon dished out. I was like, okay, this is actually winnable, especially because he's only using Spitfire and I think it's Sonic Jab. You can see strongest move Magma Bond, which hurts a lot, and you can also see that he's a lot faster than us because of course his speed stat is at around 300, 350, while ours is at, I believe it was 150 or something like that. You'll see it after the fight. But this was very much possible. This interrupt was very, very important. We were also lucky that I think Magmamon can confuse you, which thank god it did not. And we actually managed to pull through, which was very surprising for me. You can see the stats, yes, like I said, around 150 except for the brain stats. I overdid it a little bit with the brain stat. Because as I've mentioned, a lot of the grinding, or almost all of it, is cut out, but I was so relieved to win this fight because I was like, okay, now we can fight, now we can finally progress, because I could literally do nothing. There's nothing that you can recruit that does not require a battle, or that's like useful. Oh no, I don't think there's actually anybody this early in the game you can recruit for the city without any fighting. So I was like, okay, first roadblock out of the way, and then I looked up the stats for the random Digimon to see if it would be possible to comfortably beat them, because they outscale the green gym because of the new stat formula where you get 1% of the enemy Digimon stats after every battle, as you can see here, which is the equivalent to around 2 training sessions in the early game, but even stronger in the late game. But as you can see, unfortunately, I cannot beat them comfortably, and since we do not have healing items, we went back to the green gym, and after a lot more grinding, I gave Palmon a try. Because I was like, okay, we got the first roadblock out of the way, Palmon's stats are not that much higher, this should be doable. And I saw this damage, I was like, okay, this is looking fine, she's buffing up, doesn't really matter. This is doable, the poison, okay, sucks a little bit, but we could do this. She boosts again, I use the speed up, and at this moment I'm like, wait, I'm doing 5 and 1 HP of damage. Buff moves in this game are insanely strong, or not in this game, but probably in the vanilla game as well, but especially in the early game. The defensive stat of Palmon increased so much, I just did no damage anymore. So unfortunately at this point I was again at a roadblock because Angemon was at his limit and I could not go into the wild and just train it up with the new stat formula, because I could not beat them comfortably without spending healing items, which I don't have. So the only thing that healed me was going to sleep or sleep at Coeamon's place, which is a lot of waste of in-game time. So I went to the green gym again, and what I actually did, this was already the end of the first stream, I prepared the next Digivolution, which is crazy. We are not beating at, we're not even at Palmon right now, and I already have to go into the ultimate stage. The good thing is, while I trained Angemon up, I learned Megalospark, which is great. It's one of the best techniques in the base game. So what I did was I prepared the Phoenixmon evolution, which I wanted to go for, offline. I trained the stats, I did not do anything else, I literally just trained the stats. And I started the next stream immediately with the Digivolution of Angemon into Phoenixmon, which you can see in the background here. This was anticlimactic. I did not want to speed up. Look at the beautiful man. And also, of course, our tamer level is rising. So now our stats are at 300 with a very high speed stat. So I was like, okay, now our stats are on par with Palmon, and we also have Megalospark, so this should be a piece of cake. No? You can see how cocky I was. I even went into the fight without full HP. I was like, okay, I can just Megalospark my way through this. But, well, you can see she's getting 115 to 140 of a defense stat after a buff, which makes the damage go down to 3 again. So, unfortunately, another lose. I can take this away already because we just do no damage. My only hope was if we could go for the finisher. I don't know how much damage it does, and at this point I didn't even actually know if the finisher is affected by the enemy Digimon stat, like the defense stat. It is actually not, so this was like my one out that I had for this fight. And you can actually see that the MP is getting really close to 0 because Megalo Spark is not the cheapest move in the early game. I was like, okay, maybe we can go for the finisher. Maybe I can even get a stun to get the finisher off. But she just keeps on blasting me with the water bubble move. And yeah, there's Palmon's finisher, which makes this a loss for us. So I had a change of plan. I went back to the training. I tried to get Thunder Justice because Thunder Justice is the move of Phoenixmon, the tech boosted move. But unfortunately, even with a lot of resets and a lot of levels, I still only got Confused Storm. So I tried my luck at Palmon again. I even get to the finisher with 150 HP on Palmon. And yeah, I have never seen this before with Phoenixmon. I know that this can happen with finishers from like Gyromon, but I've never seen it with Phoenixmon, and I was frustrated. So, what's the smartest thing to do? Correct, smash your face against the wall until you win. I removed the spinning shot to only have Megalo Spark, and I tried to brute force my way through. I have to admit, I did this way too often in this playthrough, and it caused me so much frustration, which is, let's say it was avoidable. But I was like, if I can just get a stun and she does not spam the crap out of, what's the move again? Morph something, I think it is called? Like, okay, I can do this. This fight does start pretty unlucky with me getting instantly poisoned. This is also something that I only learned during the playthrough about how strong poison is. Not really because the damage over time, but because of the slowness it actually gives your Digimon. Here we get a massive stun, not because of the damage, but I was like, okay, we can prepare the finisher with the stun. So what I did was changing to the defend command because I wanted to block a move to get the finisher off and not get the finisher interrupted. And I think this is actually a misclick here that I push distance. Yeah, there's defense, he blocks the bubble, and I was like, please hit your finisher, please let me get out of this. And it looked like a miss at first, but he pulled through, or she, because it's called Ren, she actually pulled through, and I was like, okay, thank God, another roadblock out of the way. I think this took 4 or 5 tries. So the next thing that I obviously did is go to Coelamon, because like I said, I still needed a shop. I still had no access to healing items. And I was like, okay, Coelamon, Greymon was a roadblock, Palmon was a roadblock. Coelamon cannot be a roadblock again, correct? Yeah, he can. The problem with Coelamon is, I would say Coelamon has like the perfect triangle of moveset. Is that even a word you can use? Let's say a perfect triangle. He has Poison Claw, which is really fast, which has a high chance to poison. You can see it's actually faster than Megalo Spark, and Megalo Spark is one of the fastest moves in the game. The second move he has is Ice Statue, which has a very high chance of stunning you, and is also really fast and has a little bit more range than Poison Claw. And the last move that you can see here is Ice Needle. It has no secondary effect, but is a very fast range attack. So basically my problem was, all of his attacks are really fast. There's a high chance he can stun me, he can poison me, he can stun lock me, not even with the status, but just with his attacks. And if I don't get a stun off myself, this is very hard to pull off. So, of course, the first battle resulted in a loss once again. And just for good measure, I even get his finisher. So, another change of plan, because of another roadblock, I went to beat on Coelamon. Coelamon actually has lower stats than Coelamon. The reasoning why I didn't go for Coelamon before is she does not really have anything necessary for me right now. The shortcut to Tropical Island is nice, but not really necessary. And I was so focused on getting the shop that I like tunnel visioned on Coelamon, which obviously was a mistake. So I went for Coelamon. This is the first try and I get really lucky. You can see, I think this is the second stun already. Although I'm poisoned, he's putting through, and there's the third stun. Like, yeah, this time RNG definitely was on our side. So we take the W, and of course, as it will be the procedure of this hack, of this mod, I instantly went back to Coelamon. But you can see that I'm starting to be like, okay, I try to use the defend command more often. What I learned very fast is you cannot just spam the attack because you'll keep on getting interrupted. So the smartest move you can actually do is press the, at least that's what I found out in my experience, to press the defend command, block the attack, and then go for Megalospark and kill them. This Coelamon fight, I think it's the 4th or 5th try, was the most insane fight I ever had in Digimon World. This is not an over-exaggeration. Just take a look at this. Beginning is very, very good. I'm not poisoned, I'm not stunned, I got off some decent damage. And here you can see I try to utilize the tactic of, okay, I defend against your move, because then he has like this, I think there's a smash term you can use, this after delay? There's another term, but you know what I mean. There's a delay after he finishes his move where I can go for the Megalospark. That's my tactic. And it's working okay-ish. He's unfortunately not blocking a lot. I get stunned, I actually fast forward, because for me, this fight is already a loss. I'm poisoned, he has like 70 HP, and there even is his finisher. So yeah, this fight was over for me. We're down to 272, I was like, okay, just prick the defend command, go for Megalospark. We land a stunned, and I'm like, okay, 386, 2000 HP, one more, maybe the finisher, and I'm at 1 HP. I get the max, I don't even get the max finisher, and it finishes the Coelamon. The poison can actually kill you. I thought maybe the poison cannot kill you, only an attacking move can. But it can. This was so lucky. This was absolutely insane. You can see that I'm not even pressing any buttons after this fight because I was still in awe of what just happened. This was so much fun. During the fight I complain a lot, but it's just, to finally have a real challenge in this game, it's really, it's such a great change of pace. So after we recruited Coelamon, finally we had some access to items. So I bought some floppies for HP, for an MP. Like I said, I'll not use them in battle, but for outside of battle, it's a major improvement. We returned to the tropical forest, tropical island, and I went for Meramon. The fight was actually very easy. Vice actually commented on the video that Meramon maybe should get a rework because he's just not using Ice Needle a lot. And as you can see, Ice Needle is his signature move, which deals massive damage with 700, but he's not utilizing it a lot, and I actually got a little bit lucky with my stuns, so pretty easy fight. Thankfully, after Palmon and Coelamon, I needed an easy fight. And thankfully, after that one, there was another easy one to check off. The Digimon fight is actually not too different from the base game fight. Digimon is pretty slow, his attacks are pretty slow. Megalospark interrupts stuns. You can see I barely lost any HP. Finisher for good measure, and that's the next battle ticked off. So, after 2 very easy battles, obviously I got overconfident once again. I did the dirt quest. Thankfully there's a patch which reduces the dirt side quest to just 1 cycle. And I didn't even save, and I was like, let's go for the Meramon fight. I'm overconfident. And then I pressed select, and I saw that he has 6000 HP, and I was like, okay. And then he hits me with Frozen Statue, and I'm like, yeah, this is a loss, right? This is just a loss. His kick is fast enough to interrupt Megalospark. He can just stun me with Frozen Statue, and my damage is really low. Like, for a 6000 HP pool, this is just way too less damage. This actually took quite some time because Phoenixmon does some good defense, but Meramon does it as well, gets his finisher, and yeah, no chance in hell we win this. Of course, I was stubborn, and I actually tried this fight quite a lot, of course after saving this time, but I just could not get the better of Meramon. Yeah, here's the supercut of my other failed attempts, which, well, I backed out, went to Centauromon. This fight was very easy. Like, I skipped the full fight because literally nothing happened. But we learn a move, as you can see. It's unfortunately bugged. It says MP minus, yeah, MP cost boostable learned, which just means you've learned a new move. And we got Thunder Justice. And Thunder Justice is Megalospark on steroids. So obviously I immediately returned to Meramon. I was like, let's get the freaking revenge. And oh my god, this is a godsend. The good thing with Thunder Justice is it is a little bit slower than Megalospark, but once it's fired off, it's uninterruptible. And just look at the damage that goes into the thousands. This was an absolute game changer. The good thing is also that since it's a delayed move, it kind of plays around the enemy Digimon blocking it, because most of the time they will get into a new move and then get hit by the Thunder Justice. So I returned to the Amida Forest, went into the Dino Land, and this was actually pretty easy. Like, Meramon was the last roadblock. I skipped through the entirety of Dino Island, or the ancient Dino Land, that's what it's called. Beat Tyrannomon, beat the Meteormon, which was kinda close, and then beat the Nanimon. The reason that I did this was I really wanted to get the new backpack space, because the chance to find items in this game is up by a lot, and especially for rare items, because of an optional patch, and it was filling my inventory so much, so I really wanted the improved backpack space. And then I went for everyone's favorite side quest, the Monokomon shop. Thank God Vice also supplied us with a patch that reduces the bits that you need to pass to on to thousands. After this one, Phoenixmon was tired, so I slept and went for the Birdramon fight, because I did not expect it to win, especially with this bird being my enemy. I did not expect to win because Birdramon is like the second hardest fight, hardest champion level fight that you have in the base game. So I expected this fight to be hard, but I gotta be honest, I did not expect another Phoenixmon. And yeah, this was just a stat check. You can see he does 600 damage more. I even got lucky with the stun. But his health pool is already enough to just make this fight completely impossible for now. So I finished this fight. Maybe I'm insanely lucky and I stunned the crap out of him. Although I didn't want to win fights just because of RNG, at least at this point of the game. So I skipped out on it. I returned to Mount Panorama because Mount Panorama was finally open, and I absolutely teared through Mount Panorama, which is a lie. I did not tear through it because Unimon was so much stronger than I expected. Like, I ran into this fight completely unprepared, like mentally, so I just spammed Thunder Justice. I didn't use the defend command, I didn't use Megalospark. And you can actually see in this fight, it's going pretty well. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I get the second stun. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I'm close to my finisher. She keeps on buffing. This could actually be a lose. I did not expect this. I was like, okay, defend, please, because I don't think I'll get another attack off otherwise. Although, there she just used the buff, so I could have just gone for it. And yeah, I just immediately reload with the finisher. This took actually a couple of tries. I was really surprised because I did not expect this with Mount Panorama. But we pulled through. Even the last fight was very close. And then we, like I said, tiered from Mount Panorama with Elecmon, Patamon, and Biomon now being a Birdramon. Because, of course, The only interesting part here really was Elecmon, because he weakens you with his shock before the battle, but still very easy pushover. Since we now have recruited a lot of Digimon, I was like, let's talk to Digimon and try the Greymon fight. And this is another one of those fights with the same expectation for me as the Birdwomon fight, where I'm like, I really do not expect to win this, but I can just save in Digimon's house and let's see how it goes. His health pool is massive, but he's only losing the Fire Breath, which is very weak attack. What it's called? Meltdown, the AoE fire attack. Unfortunately, it has a high chance to stun you, and yeah. This combined with Megalospark is very hard to beat. But you can see, after I speed up, because I thought this is lost, Phoenixmon was locked in, and this was insane. Both Digimon stunned, both with 500 HP, and I was like, come on mate, come on, you can do this. Both get out of the stun at the same time. I go for Thunder Justice, he goes for the finisher. We interrupt the finisher and we win this fight. I was so proud of Ren after this fight. This was such a great way to finally finish the second stream, and oh my god, it felt good. Starting with the third stream, I started buying a lot of cards for later side quests like the Gekomon and the Sidramon. Took care of some easy battles like Bakemon. Triggered the Myotismon cutscene. And then I took care of the first two Bandit fights. None of them were too difficult, despite them being gang fights. And oh boy, we will get to different gang fights later. Difficult gang fights. You can see the problem here already, that if you fight against 3 Digimon, they can stun lock you, but those were too weak, so it did not matter. And we easily pulled through. Same here with the new Shellmon fight. If I skip through battles, then it's really because there's nothing to see. This was the part where the new stat gain formula really showed its strength, because we got so many stat increases just through all of these story fights. And of course I did like 1 or 2 random fights whenever I ran into them, but it gave us so many stat boosts that I was like, okay, let's give Phoenixmon another try. Unfortunately, we get the immediate stun from Phoenixmon. I was like, this should be doable, because even the first fight where we were massively outmatched with our stats, it was kinda close, but yeah, you can see in this fight, we're not even able to scratch him. Thankfully, he gets the defense off, but yeah, this is just, that was over, because this is the third stun that I conceded in this fight, and yeah. Well, you know what they say, this happened with a lot of other fights. Third time's the charm. This time we finally get the stun. I don't want to complain about RNG too much during my playthrough, but in these Phoenixmon fights, we were definitely on the unlucky side. So yeah, not actually sure why I went for Confused Storm here. I have not remembered the playthrough in all of its entirety, because it's been like 12 hours or something, but some of my moves are very, very questionable. And this is just insane. I mean, look at this. Both Digimon double stunning each other 2 times in a row. My stun actually going longer, which I'm curious on how that is, or why that is so. But thank God we get 2 Thunder Justice in a row and get the next stun, which does not matter anymore. And we finally get Phoenixmon into the city, which is a major improvement, because now we save so much time just flying everywhere. And look at those stats. So the next thing I did was everyone's favorite minigame number 2, Penguinmon. But I have to say, this was probably the worst game of curling I've ever seen from Penguinmon. You can see me going for the 2 points. I don't get even 1 because I'm not very good at curling. He goes for the locked 1, and it's actually a very, very good first throw of him, and I'm like, oh, this could be a reset, because 2 points saved for him, and then he does this. And well, not to spoil anything, it was not the only time he did this, because his third throw, which was immediately after, he did it again. And at this point I was like, did Vice change curling as well to make him like super weak? But I don't think so, and you can see that I'm not even playing well. I only have 3 points, and he throws the next one again against it. After Penguinmon, I also accessed the Mojamons, and as many of you probably know, there's a very easy money trick with the Mojamon where if you exchange the correct items, you'll just have infinite money. And since this was a very optimized playthrough, and I wanted to save as much time as possible, I have to be honest that I used the in-game cheat to just give me max bits, because it just saved me 20 minutes of real time. Afterwards, I turned west to the Palmon to take us to the next Bandit fight with our Meramon. And this was another reality check. This was the fight that showed me, okay, gang fights can be extremely difficult, because stat-wise I think we would easily beat every one of these Digimon 1v1. But even a weaker Digimon like Gabumon, if he just has fast moves, they can just stun lock you into oblivion and you cannot do anything. You also have to approach these battles from another angle, which is something I only learned later. You can't just spam Megalospark, Thunder Justice, all these single target moves. You need poison to slow them down, to do tick damage over time, and you need a very good AoE attack. I only had Confused Storm at this point, which is not very good because it's a very, very slow move, unfortunately. And yeah, you can see in the background, I do like 0 damage to them. I'm just stun locked. I tried to go for Megalospark, Thunder Justice, anything, but it's just not possible to do. Another problem is, as you will see now and later, 3 finishers in a row hurt. And if you are not prepared and are able to interrupt them, that just kills you all the time. So you actually have to have the moves that are delayed. So what I did was turn around again, looked up some other boss battles, and I found Metal Meramon in the files, only Meramon, sorry. I gave it a try, but my damage is good, to be honest, but he just stun locks, blocks me, and I'm still using the block command too less, to be honest. So as this was the end of the stream, I did not really do many battles anymore, so I did some non-battling stuff like recruiting the Sukamon, getting the old fish rod for Sidramon, beating the Otawamon. I know this is a battle, but it's a pushover, so it doesn't really count. Went into the Misty Forest, beat the Gabumon, which was also just a pushover. And then I went into Toy Town, and this is where I ended the stream for this day. You may be wondering if I could get into Toy Town, but there's, as you can probably guess, another optional patch which removes the entry requirement for the mansion, the Ice Sanctuary, and also Toy Town. This is only something I checked here. And at this point, I have to be honest, I was thinking about, should I just kill Phoenixmon on purpose, because I wanted to try other Digimon. And at this time, I was only like spamming Thunder Justice and brute forcing my way through, and I just wanted to try something else. So when I started the next stream, to be honest, he was already close to his death, because as you can see, he's 20 years old. His stats are very, very good, but not too much that I could do right now, or not too much that I would want to do. And you can also see that we finally have the interface that you see in the intro of this video. So this was the point where I finally got around to use a webcam, did an interface, a very basic one, but just something that looked a little bit fancier than a black screen, and I was really happy with it. You can see me already preparing my next Digivolution, which would be Garurumon, which was added into his hack. And I was debating whether to use Garurumon or Machine Dramon, but Machine Dramon seemed a bit difficult to access right now, so I went for Garurumon. And I made the decision to have Phoenixmon last 2 fights be Varumonsaemon and Coelamon. Regarding Varumonsaemon, I have to admit, I only noticed afterwards in the docs that his stats are really high, and I'm very surprised that we actually won this at this point. Especially because, as you can see, he's buffing himself up, but I'm down to around 3000 HP, comfortable win, and this is the second to last fight of our dear Phoenixmon. So now it was time for the last dance of Phoenixmon, which was not really a dance but a slaughter, but hey, better to go out with a win than just another loss. So we got pretty lucky in this fight with 2 stuns, managed to finish him off, and then it was time to say goodbye to our beloved friend. Oh yeah, I should probably explain that you can kill your Digimon with stakes in this playthrough, in this hack, because they reduce the lifespan to 0. Thanks for the advice. It's very good, so you don't have to use Devi chips. 07, my friend. 07. Like day 18 or something, because, like I said, I want to experience more generations. As I said, I'll go for the Garurumon, so I chose the Gabumon egg. And here you can see me actually preparing the next evolution. I cut all of this out from this video, but I'm not even kidding. 50% of the stream footage is me opening up docs, calculators and everything to rule out wrong Digivolutions, to get the right Digivolutions, to have the right stats. Because there are Digimon who, like I said, I want to train brain as much as I could to get techniques, but if you do that, you could just unfortunately get a Digivolution that you don't even want. So yeah, we changed the name Ren because I always do this for new Digimon, and I think I changed it to Levi because I'm an Attack on Titan nerd since this year. So let's say hello to our new baby boy Levi. This will be a super cut once again, but this grind took, I believe, 2 hours until we got to Garurumon, because, well, it's just a grind. You can see that I actually do the Frigimon quest, because this is very easily to do with a baby Digimon. Just make him sick, get into the frozen island, frozen land, and then return to Frigimon to recruit him at a later point. So I trained the crap out of this little baby, got the first evolution, and what I also did at this point is, whenever he was hungry, I went into the restaurant, because the restaurant also increases your stats, and it removes your tiredness, which is massive, because otherwise if you would train all day, you would have to at least sleep 2 hours, which is a lose of time, obviously. And also the stat gains are upped because of an optional patch. It's not broken, but here you can see he gets 15 defense, 15 speed, which I think it's fair. That's like 3.5 training sessions. And here you can see me cooking, because we had to get, obviously, Garurumon. So what I did, I entered all the stats that I have, the discipline, the weight, anything, into this calculator. Everything's in the description, don't worry, to make sure we get Garurumon and not anything else. After he evolved into Gabumon, we returned to the Frigimon to recruit him, and then it was back to the Green Gym. We did it! Thank the Digivolution tool. Here you can see that I have the documents open for the Garurumon requirements, which are pretty much easily doable, but I still had to use the other Digivolution calculator because I was scared that I could get, like, you can see here, Varusidramon, which is also possible to get from Gabumon. So what I did again, I entered all the stats. I also increased the stats to like 900 or something to just see, can I train the crap out of this stat without having to worry to get Varusidramon. So as I mentioned, I did brain training, got Ice Needle for the technique, and then I tried my luck again at fighting random Digimon. And you can actually see here that I got the max bit requirement. And I even get Giga Freeze, which is huge for these grinding sessions. So what I did, I went as far as I could fighting random Digimon, and I noticed that the threshold is around the Great Canyon exit. Because you can see me here in the Ice Sanctuary. Yes, we win this fight, but it's not really comfortable. So after having all requirements fulfilled, he needed a little bit more of happiness, and then it was time for the evolution. And I was praying. Oh, please, please, please. Let's go! Look at me cheering in the webcam. He looks so clean. I cannot even imagine how much work this must have been. This looks so freaking good. I love him. And also the way he walks, all his animations, it's amazing. And the greatest thing about him is Sonic Jab is his tech boosted move. Sonic Jab is the base move you get when you start out with Gabumon. So it's extremely fast, costs no MP, and has a strength of 700. So I optimized the moveset. I got Frozen Statue because it just compensates for the lack of range on Sonic Jab. And I pumped all of my available chips bar 1 into Garurumon. And you can see that the stats are solid. I actually put up a comparison to what Phoenixmon's stats were when he died. And you can see that he's slightly weaker than Phoenixmon was. The good thing is that I didn't have to level Brain that much anymore, so I could put it into other stats. And I'm really glad by how this is balanced, because now I have an Ultimate Digimon which is slightly weaker than the last I had when it died. So I think it's very, very good balancing. So I tried my luck again at the Meramon fight, because I was like, okay, let's test out this beautiful baby. And I was like, okay, I take massive damage because my defense stat is low. This is probably a lose, but well, let's just try it. Let's just see what Garurumon can cook. And this fight just shows you the full power of Sonic Jab. He is so fast with it, he interrupts every single move of Meramon. After getting the first Sonic Jab to hit, he does not get in a single hit. Sonic Jab is so fast that in a lot of fights I didn't even use the finisher, because I was afraid that I would interrupt the chain of Sonic Jabs. So we beat the Meramon and we get a massive increase of stats, because his stats are in the 800s, as you can see here. And I was like, okay, we are pretty strong. We are quite a little bit weaker than with Phoenixmon, but we are quite strong. Let's beat the Bandit. Yeah, the Bandit did not want to be beaten. The Bandit is one of the few Digimon that has the bug move, which is insanely strong because it's a delayed attack and it can hit you thrice. So we had to skip out of this battle. And we went on to fish for Sidrumon. And on the way to Sidrumon, I ran into Ninjamon, but Ninjamon was just a pushover. So we just cut right to the end. You can see I didn't even lose like 500 HP. And then we went on and fished for Sidrumon. Sidrumon was so easy. I've never fished him that fast. Might have been an optional patch, or maybe I'm just the luckiest guy alive. Well, when I turned to the Beetle Island, I found in the docks that Kabuterimon and Kuwagamon are gang fights. And they have insanely high stats for a gang fight, especially because, as you can see, they can boost themselves. But I saved before and was like, okay, let's just test the water, give it a try. And no chance. We will get to those fights later, because oh my god, this is hard. We do not even get close to winning this. As World Infinity was now open, I got into the battle against Meramon, and he reduces your HP a lot before the fight. And we managed to interrupt, block, interrupt, and he just was so locked in. So we returned to Tropical Island, and we went on to fight my favorite Digimon of all time. I love Piximon, and I thought this fight will be extremely difficult because, duh, it's Piximon, and all of the rare encounter fights have been massively buffed, as you have seen with Meramon, and Piximon's moveset is really insane. But I was at a point where I'm like, I think Garurumon can win every fight 1v1. Maybe not against Digimon with like max stats, but the range of Piximon should be fine. So I tried my best. We get a little bit unlucky with the statuses, but we are lucky that we did not get poisoned, which would have been, I think it would be a loss right now. So Piximon gets to her finisher very fast, and it does massive damage, like 50%. So here you can see again, I'll try to use the defend command, and it actually works. I go for the finisher, fully loaded. I'm like, okay, we can do this, but this was, I have to admit, this was way less damage than I expected it. And there is the poison. Looking back, this was probably the death sentence. I think without the poison, this would have been a W. And I have to admit that I probably went for Ice Statue a little bit too often. But the problem is that Piximon is very good at keeping the distance to you. And you know that I commentate this fight like it's a loss, and you're wondering, he's at 228, how can you lose this? Well, this is Digimon World, and he actually gets the stun. Although the stun did not matter because I was poisoned anyway, but the double Megala Spark fricked me over. The contrast in these two battles is the perfect example of what Digimon World makes Digimon World. Because the first fight, as you've seen, was very close. And this second fight, I mean, we stunned her immediately, we blocked her attack, now we interrupt her, we keep our distance, we do not get poisoned, we're still almost at full HP, there's another stun, we take no damage in this try. So this is the wonderful duality of Digimon World. At this point I was already thinking about my next Digimon, because we are now once again back in the state of okay, yeah, we are beating everything 1v1. Our stats are pretty much not maxed out, but they will be after Mount Infinity. And as you can see, Mount Infinity was really a pushover. The theory that Garurumon can not easily but comfortably win every 1v1 held up very well. Like Devimon, Machine Dramon, Devimon, Gigadramon, they were all no problems. You see, I even forgot about Metal Greymon. Yeah, he was there as well, but look at the HP. We took 100 HP of damage taking down Metal Greymon. So yeah, we went on to the final fight, at least of the main story, onto Machine Dramon, and those were our stats, and as you can see, not maxed out, especially the defense, but pretty good. To be honest, I probably could have gotten rid of Muscle Charge at this point, but yeah. Now we finally arrive at the main attraction, the main boy himself. And the fight does not start well. He blocks our attack, we get poisoned, but we retaliate with our own stun. And this fight was pretty hard. His stats are not maxed out, his HP is, but I think his other stats are at around 190, 150. So yeah, I have to be like, compliment myself a little bit. I finally tryharded a little bit and figured out on what to do. So my tactic was to go for the Ice Statue to stun him up, defend in between to get my moves off and block his, then go for Sonic Jab as soon as he's not stunned anymore. There goes our finisher. Massive damage. I was at this point so scared of his finisher, and yeah, there it was. I was expecting like 3000 HP of damage, and it was pretty close. This fight was not lost, but I was like, okay, I'm poisoned, we need to def his move, but Garurumon just went for the Ice Statue. I was like, okay, yeah, let's just try to stun him. This is probably our only chance. Sonic Jab is a little bit too slow for this fight because Machine Dramon also keeps his distance. I was like, okay, just get the stun off. But look at both of them blocking. They are so locked in, and we get lucky with the stun. So 2 Sonic Jabs are all it takes, and we beat the main story of the Vice Hack. This was already at the end of Stream 4, I believe. And the only thing that I did afterwards was finish the epilogue, and then I was like, let's give the bandits another try, because they feel like the real boss of the main story, at least in the way that I started the fights, or in the order that I did them. So we returned to the bandit fight, and this time I tried to Sonic Jab my way again through the Ogremon, however, because the Ogremon does the most damage, more damage than Gabumon at least, and should be easy to take care of, easier at least than Varusugramon. And the Gabumon, yeah, he can interrupt me and he can buff me, but it's not really strong, so yeah. The RNG is not really on our side in this fight. We take a limited damage, but we already got stunned twice. I was like, okay, let's just see how it works out. Unfortunately, Virgarumon changes his focus very often in this fight. And I was like, okay, if you're on Gabumon already, then just finish him off. And I have a deja vu because I just can't get in the final hit on the Gabumon until now. So we're in a good position. If we can get the Ogremon out of the way right now, and we do, now it's a very fair and easy fight against the Varusugramon. I try to stun him because of the finisher, and we get the double stun. But as you can see, the stun duration for me is only 9 seconds instead of Varusugramon's 11. So I'm a bit greedy and I immediately go for the finisher, which he, thank God, does instantly. And at this point I'm like, it should be a win, no? Just Sonic Jab all the way, right? Unfortunately, because of the little distance we had there, he gets off 2 frozen ice statues, but thank God we stun him with our, and now we can do so much riskless damage with Sonic Jab. I was aware that this will not finish him, so I went for ice statue again, hopefully getting the stun, especially when he tries to get close to us because he's slowed, and we finally take the W at the end of Stream 4. So, as this was the end of the stream, I decided to do maybe 1 or 2 fights more and then go for the next Digimon that I wanted to try, which is Machinedramon. And my decision fell upon, okay, let's do the Ice Sanctuary, and I think the Garurumon fight is the last one I'll do because it's a bit tedious with the timing. So I switched the game and I wanted to go to the Frozen Sanctuary, but the 33% chance of the back dimension fell upon the Frozen Sanctuary. I have to admit, I have not been in the back dimension for 10 years, maybe. I completely forgot that this existed, so I just went with it because I knew from the docs that there are some unique battles in here. For example, this Frigimon is not in the base game. It's a completely new fight added by Vice. It's a pretty easy fight, but I made the big mistake. I thought that this is the final battle of the back dimension because I had no memories of the back dimension anymore. So I went into this fight, beat the Frigimon, was like, okay, this is pretty easy, so let's just go through the end of the back dimension. The problem is I did not heal, and well, this was not the final fight. At the end of every back dimension there is a Machinedramon, and I did not heal myself, and you might be thinking, as you will see soon, that there's barely any HP missing, but these HP unfortunately actually mattered. So first try is really not doing too well. This is, by the way, the Machinedramon with the maxed out stats. He has 9,999, and every, let's say, combat stat, attack stat, defense stat is at 999. So yeah, as you can see, the double stun, the poison, the good block, but the damage is already done. We're at 5,500. The finisher comes through, and this is just too much damage. This is, yeah, half of our remaining HP, and we do not pull through in this fight. even though we even get the stun at the end, we're just succumbing to the poison, which is pretty unlucky. That's what I meant with the few missing HP actually mattered, which is pretty unlucky. Second fight, much easier, much better RNG. It's sad that a lot of the fights just really come down to RNG. This is not even really the game's fault sometimes, because a lot of the fights I'm still too much trying to brute force my way through the fights. So after we get stunned, we get also poisoned, so not even the best RNG we could have hoped for, but yeah. So we finally take care of the back dimension, and now we can go into the actual Frozen Sanctuary, which is pretty fastly done because it's just, yeah, just one fight, just the Angemon. The random Digimon are no matches anymore. Angemon is also no match because of our maxed out stats, which, to be honest, there's really not a single fight that would be a challenge right now. This is why I also was like, okay, let's just have Garurumon do this fight and then the Garurumon fight, and then we should be able to finish the game with our Machinedramon. And here you can actually see that I use a brain chip. The reasoning being, for the first time ever, I have maxed out stats with a Digimon. I never had this in the base game. I will try this in the all medals run, but it was still pretty cool to have this. And since we had to spend some time because we had to wait for the Garurumon to respawn after beating it, and I wanted to do this with Garurumon because the timing is just tedious and I wanted to have this out of the way. I saw that there's this Great Royal Battle, and I think that's a new one from the Vice Hack added. I'm not 100% sure, but given the Digimon that appear in this fight, I'm pretty sure this is a new cup. Yeah, this is the first Garurumon fight. This is the fight where I could actually use items, and you can see I speed up a lot. And I do not do anything because I'm like, his stats are so low, I can just do your call. But look at this. This is almost a choke of a century. We are down to 610 HP. And I'm like, can you please pull through and not make me go through this again? And holy frick, 189 HP. I was actually scared for the rematch against Garurumon, because if this first battle is already so difficult, let's hope we do not have any trouble with the rematch. Afterwards, I cleaned up the Factorial Town with Diromon. This is actually a new fight. I think in the base game you only have to fight him once. And to pass the time until we can finally have our revenge on Garurumon, I entered the tournament. And as you can see in the participants, this is definitely a new tournament. Our first opponent was only a Vegemon, but I expected it to be extremely strong due to the other participants. And yeah, the stats are not maxed out, but way above your average champion Digimon. And I'm not even sure if Digimon in the base tournament reach those stats. So yeah, this was actually a very tedious fight. So it actually came out to the timeout because the defense were just so high at the end, and at least we won through the timeout. Our next enemy was Machinedramon himself, but as you can see, we barely took any damage despite him being maxed out besides the attack stat. So our last opponent was Ninjamon, actually a little bit weaker than Machinedramon, but yeah, also not really a great challenge for Garurumon. So we got 15,000 bits for winning this, I believe, and another Giga Hand, which is the evolution item for the new Gigadramon, but you get a lot of these Giga Hands, so wasn't really that useful. And yeah, we returned to the Winter Forest to finish the Garurumon, and we took 400 damage this time, which is like Digimon World in a nutshell. And we finally put the Garurumon to rest. Very, very emotional at this riverside bank, but yeah. And now begins the actual Machinedramon grind. This took so long. Like, I'm not kidding, with 7 times speed up, I think it was still 2.5 hours because of the huge requirements. As you can already see on screen, or could have seen before, there are massive requirements. You have to have 10 karma sticks, which is fine. You can do that easily. For example, Piximon actually needs 15. But you have to do either 100 battles or get your stats to 5000 HP and MP and 500 for the other stats, which did not seem too bad. So my way to go about this was, okay, I will keep track of my care mistakes and of the battles. Oh yeah, and I also changed the name to Kaido because after having Meramon being like, okay, we can win every 1v1, I was like, might as well go for the name. What I wanted to say is my plan was to just battle random Digimon as soon as we have the Vegemon, because Vegemon digivolves into Meramon in this hack, and just get as close to these 100 battles and then see how our stats are. And I actually was a little bit scared because there were some moments where I was like, okay, I don't actually do that many battles per day. And you might have noticed that if we need a Vegemon, we need a Palmon, and we actually got a Meramon. And this is the beauty of Digimon World. There's actually a mistake on the Digivolution tree that I use to map out my Digivolutions, where it says you have to have 1000 HP for Palmon, which is incorrect. You need MP, so apparently it's just a mistake on the side. So I reloaded the save, gave it 2 MP chips, trained a little bit of MP, and then we got the real evolution. So, as I mentioned before, it was a little bit scary with the timing of the battles, but you will see that this worked out quite fine. So, I was mapping out my Digivolution to Vegemon. I was also checking if there are any new techniques that we could use or learn that would be necessary later. So you can see me prepare the Vegemon evolution because this is the one that digivolves into Meramon, as I've mentioned before. And I've been very careful with this after the mis-digivolution into Meramon. Well, so I thought. So I checked the techniques that I have, I checked the care mistakes, and I was like, okay, I actually already got everything for Vegemon, so no problem, no biggie, I can just go and train. It was not as easy as that. You can see I upped the stats to just see what I'll get, and I saw that I'll actually get Ninjamon if I train too much. So off screen, I actually did a couple of care mistakes to rule out this requirement for Ninjamon, and then we got the evolution. And yeah, that's not Vegemon. And it actually took me a couple of seconds to realize what went wrong, because I was like, okay, I don't have the stats, I don't have the food, and then it hit me. The discipline and the happiness was wrong. So I had to reload the save, and I was checking the discipline, and what I did was, you can see, praising the crap out of Palmon to just decrease the discipline as much as I can. And I actually wanted to go to the, what's it called, the item store to get like a happy mushroom or anything, and you can see it is fine. Now we should get Vegemon, and as you can see, I'm still praising because I wanted to be really sure that the numbers are matching. It was really close timing wise, like this was the last save I had, and she immediately evolves again. So if this would be any other way, like if I wouldn't have the option to just praise the shit out of her, this could have been a problem, but well, whatever. So we finally got our Vegemon. A little spoiler, I know the evolution will take a little longer, but there she is. Vegemon, Numamon, and Tsukamon are the only one digivolving into Machineramon in this hack. And you can actually see me here go for the battles. I already had 5 care mistakes. I checked the stats and I was like, I will not get those stats with below 50 battles. So I just went for the battles, got to the Great Canyon again. This got to be my favorite training spot. Also to learn Green Trap, which was the signature or the tech boosted move from Vegemon. Unfortunately, it's really not that strong Thankfully, it's not needed for the Meramon later, but yeah. I finally reached the 10 care mistakes. I checked the stats again and I was still like, okay, we will need more battles. And then I went and got at 64 battles. And I checked the stats now, I was like, okay, I'm already at day 9. This would become close, timing-wise. But I double-checked the stats and I was like, oh, I only need defend. That is absolutely doable in the green gem, or I might as well just use a couple of the death chips that I probably have. The problem is I checked the item store and I believe the defend chip are the only ones I did not have at this point. So we went into the green gym, you can see me hitting the 500 mark, and now we should have been settled. You can also see me, I went for 11 care mistakes, because I was like, okay, if I counted wrong, just one more wouldn't hurt. It would not give me any other evolution. The next one would be Piximon with 15 care mistakes, so we should be good G. Yes! Let's go! Oh my god! He's so huge! Okay, my level went up. Oh my god, look at him! And he can learn like everything. Look at this absolute unit. I underestimated how big he actually is. And you can see me going for a moveset of Poison Claw, Megalo Spark, and I believe an AoE attack. Just to have this golden triangle that I was talking earlier about with Coelamon. So what I did, I actually went to the brain training because I wanted to get the all range beam, which is the signature move or the tech boost attack from Meramon, which has a base of 85, 850. Is an AoE attack with massive damage. Unfortunately, this move caused a little bit of problems, as we will see soon. So, since we finally had the king of all mechanical Digimon, I thought it was time to clean up the rest of Factorial Town. As I said before, we will use this Meramon to go to the end of the game. I was debating whether I'd do another generation, but since the last 2 grinding sessions took me 2 hours each, and like I said, this was with a speed up of 700%, I was like, let's do it with Meramon, and then I'll see what I'll do the next playthroughs, because this will not be the last time I will play the Vice Hack or the Hardcore Hack, because there's also an Ultra Hardcore version, and it will be updated. I'm not sure if constantly, but there will be updates as far as I'm aware. And yeah, so we cleaned up Factorial Town. I actually went into the Mount Infinity again because I wanted to get Meltdown. And here you can see, unfortunately, the problem that was caused by our range beam. I am still not sure what caused it, but this happened a lot of times when you use the move in battles with 3 or more enemy Digimon. In this case it's only a graphical bug or graphical glitch, but it actually can cause a lot more, and you will see this later. It can actually displace your Digimon out of bounds, it can kind of kill your hitbox and then kill the game. And well, speaking of, it can actually kill your game, because this happened quite some time, as you will see later. This was my first time experiencing this glitch, and I was like, how safe is it if I now save the game and reload? Because you cannot see it here, but I actually made a save state, loaded the save state, and it was still there, obviously. The save looks actually kind of cool, but I was still scared that the save file would be corrupted or something. So I went to the memory card and was like, okay, let's just save, let's just look what happens. I reloaded the game and thankfully it was fixed. But as you will see later, this caused some problems for other fights where I would have really liked to have our range beam available. But yeah. With Meramon on our side, we traveled through the whole of Mount Infinity again to the place of the original Meramon to take care of the Palmon. I think it's also maxed out with its stats, or maybe it's at 900, but it was a pretty pretty okay-ish fight. We got stunned. It got a little bit too close to comfort at the end, I have to admit that. Because, well, RNG, as you will see. I tried to go for the defense. Actually managed to stun him, but his delayed Thunder Justice stuns us as well. I managed to pull out another stun, and we finally are able to do some damage. Or not. Sometimes that's another problem with ARB. I will just call our range beam ARB because I will talk about this name a lot. It sometimes just does not hit. I'm not sure how the hitbox is, if it's really just those lasers, because sometimes Digimon get hit even outside of the lasers, but it's like very inconsistent, and that's also not a Vice Hack problem, that's also in the base game, but yeah. Palmon went full ham with his Thunder Justice at this point, and I think this is like the 5th stun I got in this game and in this fight, so finally RNG for us. So I went for the ARB, it should have finished it, but it dodged it again. The accuracy on the move is actually pretty good, but we were pretty unlucky with the dodges. Another Meltdown Meltdown stun, and a Confuse, and another stun, and holy shit, this was way too close at the end. This was very uncomfortable, but Meramon managed to pull through. Now we get to ARB part 2. We tried to do the bandits and the drill tunnel, and I even only used it when one Agumon was already down, and this time it actually crashed the game. Like, sometimes when the game bugs out after you use ARB and you have this graphical glitch, it managed to get a hold on itself again and continue, sometimes with graphical issues. But yeah, here you have 2 examples where it just did not work out. So I was like, okay, for the bandits I don't need the ARB, it's a bit sad, but I can just use DG Dimension as my AoE move to go. It's not a signature move, so obviously the damage will be a little bit lower, but for these fights I will just not need it. So here you can see DG Dimension, easy fight. The next fights until the last 2 of the game that I want to talk about are all pretty self-explanatory, because we are at max stats. To be honest, we do not have like a perfect move pool, because most of the times we cannot use ARB. We have Megalospark instead of Thunder Justice, because I'm actually not sure why I went for Thunder Justice instead of Megalospark. I think because Megalospark is a bit faster. The only other fight that was interesting until the end, before the last 2 fights, is this Digimon fight. This is probably the last fight before the 2 that I keep on teasing about that was interesting, because Digimon sets your HP to a set amount of 30% of your max health, and he does insane damage with Thunder Justice, so there was actually some strategy and planning involved here. Like, the problem is I don't have an ideal moveset, I would say. Megalospark does not do a lot of damage, and in hindsight I should probably have gotten for Thunder Justice myself, but Megalospark is just faster, and I could not afford to take too much damage. So the tactic was to poison him, which worked pretty well, then stun him with Megalospark, and then go all out with ARB, which is pretty consistent and does a lot of damage in 1v1s. The problem is that ARB is very slow, like, it's not Sonic Jab. Sonic Jab would do so much better in this fight, and this caused me to actually lead a little bit more twice to do this. So here you can actually see me checking my movesets if I could go for something else. Buff moves have no sense anymore. I went for the DG Dimension for the increased accuracy, I believe. I'm not even really sure why I went for DG Dimension here. Probably because what I said before, the hitboxes of the lasers of AR being very inconsistent. But yeah. I noticed after a couple of tries that poisoning him is not really worth it. At least that's what I felt in my experience, because this is not a fight of endurance. So playing the slow game does not really work. He does too much damage for that. So I went for the combination of DG Dimension and Megalospark. We actually get off the finisher here, and I think it's 1900. but we have to use the defensive command to block an attack of him, which we unfortunately do not do. He still gets the 85 win. Massive Megalospark, unfortunately no stun, and there's the Fauna Justice that barely brings us to our knee. And yeah, we exchange trades, exchange damage, and we lose because of the stun, unfortunately. Then we had this attempt where I have to admit, re-looking at the footage, sometimes I'm not sure what's my winning attempt. And I looked at this and I was like, yeah, this is just another loss that I recorded, right? Because you can see I actually tried to go for the poison and we take massive damage. Like, we're already 700 HP down and we did 2400, which is nothing. There's a massive defense from, a massive block from the Machine Meramon. We actually get the poison off and then we get the immediate stun. So now we are like, we could go for A or B. I switched back to it from the DG Dimension. Go for another one? No, I actually do not. I was thinking about... I had the same thought right now that I probably had back then, where I was like, maybe I wait a little bit until he's out of his stun to go for the immediate double stun, which did not work out perfectly, but it worked with a little bit of a delay, as you can see here. The stun, I'm trying to not be greedy, go for my finisher. Should put him to one... Oh, wow, that was massive. That was fully loaded. And I was like, okay, just go Megalospark. Just finish him. But as you can see, the poison would have done its job anyway. And we take the W. This was a very cool fight. I really enjoyed that one. This was kind of the last fight that I did before the aforementioned 2 gang fights that blew my brains out. And it was pretty easy. Meramon has high stats, but probably on the same level as the other rare encounter special battles. We got a bit unlucky with the flattening, which, looking back at the footage, I rarely got flattened. I don't think there are that many Digimon that actually got this moveset from Vice, but he has it with this, where he attacks you with the code numbers. I'm actually not sure what the name is right now. And yeah, we can go for a fully loaded Infinity Cannon and end this fight. Now we come to the juicy part. You may be wondering, we have so much footage left, and I keep on talking about how there are only 2 fights left. Well, these 2 fights were insane. The first one with Coelamon wasn't alright. The problem is, as you can see here, ARB kept screwing me over. And this is what I meant with, it's not only a visual bug. Yes, there is a visual bug, but as you can see, my Machine Meramon is actually outside of the arena. And so they can barely reach me. I can reach them with the all-range beam sometimes, but using it more often would probably just crash the game. And yeah, this was just a completely bugged out mess. A combination of poor move choice from me, or let's say moves I had available for this fight, plus this fight being very hard in general, make this absolutely horrible. Horrible in a way that it's extremely difficult, not that it's a horrible designed fight. I really enjoyed it. I was extremely frustrated while I played it because getting interrupted over and over and over is just not fun to play, obviously. But like I said, I'm limited with the move pool because I cannot use ARB, and in general I think that Machine Meramon is not the best, maybe, or at least I think that's wrong, that would be unfair to say, but there might be more optimal move sets you could use for this fight. So I kind of kept on smashing my wall. You can see in the background there's so many attempts. This took so many attempts to do. So you can actually see that I changed a little bit of the approach here, even outside of battle, because I thought that I had barely any place to move. And from my experience, Machine Meramon needs to have a set amount of distance to the other Digimon, otherwise he will not use his finisher. So I positioned my player himself a little bit more to the northeast because that gave me a little bit more breathing space, and it worked out pretty well in this fight. It was mostly going for DG Dimension, and as you also see, as soon as I am close to my finisher, I will try to spam the crap out of DG Dimension because it interrupts, or there's a high chance to interrupt their finishers. And while their base attacks are not doing that much damage, their finishers hurt a lot. Like if you get hit by 3 finishers, that accumulates to around 5000 damage, and the fight goes on for so long, then usually they get a chance of using their finishers twice at least, if you don't interrupt them. So this was a pretty close fight, but I was like, okay, DG Dimension does do good damage, but that's it. So maybe I should go for Aurora Freeze, because Aurora Freeze has the chance to flatten the enemy Digimon. We get a triple hit here. The damage is actually pretty good here. Might be because of the type advantage, I'm not quite sure right now. So we get the first flattened, unfortunately we ourselves get flattened, and there you can see what I mean. I'm at my finis, the H is missing, so I'm like, okay, they will use their finishes soon, so let me just interrupt them with DG Dimension, or Aurora Freeze in this case. But I felt like this was not as consistent as just using DG Dimension. So what I did is exchanged Megalo Spark for Thunder Justice, and you can see this attempt here, it was actually pretty close. We get the Thunder Justice to interrupt the finisher, stun him, another Thunder Justice. Let's be real, this fight is probably still lost, but there is a tiny chance. This Thunder Justice unfortunately is a little bit too early, so there's no chance to immediately stun him again. I try to defend, because if we just get hit, it's over. Unfortunately, he blocks, we don't. There's the Heat Laser, and that's GG. For the next try, I actually go for Thunder Justice, Aurora Freeze, and DG Dimension. And I wanted to go for Thunder Justice immediately to stun them, but Machine Meramon itself just ran for the DG Dimension before I actually could choose a move, which was fine because he hit all 3 of them. And you can see that the Digimon that's flattened on my right, that was not actually me. That was the Kabuterimon that hit me, hit also his friend, which was massive. To be honest, I know that this can happen, but I did not know that it could happen for like single target moves for this move that the Kabuterimon uses. We get another flatten, so this is actually looking pretty good so far. They keep on buffing themselves. Machine Meramon, unfortunately, in his idle animation again, gets interrupted. I'm spamming the crap out of Aurora Freeze here because, as I said before, I'm close to my finisher, so they will probably be as well. I'm pretty greedy going for my finisher here, but I really want to get it off. Full blast, 3200 damage, this is looking very good. We only lost 900 HP, spamming Aurora Freeze because of the finishers, because as soon as I kill the first Kabuterimon without them going for the finisher, the better. We actually flatten another one of the Kabuterimons, and now look at this. I fast forwarded it, but the Kabuterimon actually fired his finisher onto his friend that was standing between us. This was massive. Not only did he knock out the other Kabuterimon, but also it saved me from around 1100 damage. Unfortunately, not so lucky with the second finisher, but this is still fine. This is completely fine, even with the flattening. So we go for another DG Dimension because we are at our finisher again. Another Infinity Cannon blasts off the second Kabuterimon, and this should be unlosable. Like really unlosable. We get the Thunder Justice stun, and we stun the crap out of him again. And we finally, after getting flattened and getting a little bit nervous, we finally take the W. Well, gotta be honest, compared to what was coming, this was child's play. This was absolute child's play. This was at the end of the 5th stream, and I was actually pretty tired, so I was like, I will just test the water with the Coelamon fight. I know that it will be hard. I will probably not be able to do it because it's a little bit more difficult than the Kabuterimon fight, but let's just test the water, let's just see how it is. And after misclicking multiple times and not starting the battle, I finally did it. At least in this arena we have a little bit more space even without adjusting our camera. But yeah, unfortunately this did not really matter, at least in the beginning. So the fight starts out, you can actually see that I'm not even at full MP because I was like, I just want to try it. I go for the Aurora Freeze, get immediately interrupted by Poison Claw. They all three have Poison Claw, which is very, very dangerous, because if you get poisoned within the first 2 or 3, not 2, let's just say 2, within the first 2 attacks, you can just reset the fight, because this fight takes too long to survive the poison from Meramon. Also, as I've mentioned before, Poison Claw, almost no build-up time, can interrupt you very, very constantly. And there you can see there's the poison. This was actually pretty lucky to only get poisoned that late into the fight, and we even managed to stun one of them. So now I went for Aurora Freeze again to maybe get stuns on the other 2, but even though this is not looking too bad, I was not very optimistic. And yeah, there is the stun, there is the finisher, and yeah, I had no chance of interrupting the other finishers. I tried to go for the Aurora Freeze interruption, but yeah, this was over. I gave it a couple of more tries at the end of the stream, but just didn't even come close. So after another lost attempt, that was not even, we didn't stand a chance, let's be honest. I checked if there are other moves that we could get to optimize our moveset. And I saw that Meramon, I don't think it's in the base game, Meramon can actually learn Meltdown, which, as I've mentioned before, it's a strong AoE attack with the chance to stun all enemies. I was like, that would be very, very useful. So I checked where I can get it, and you can actually get it from the Vermilionmon in the Mount Infinity, just in the first screen already. So I went for them. It actually was a pretty hard fight, and I have to say, I slaughtered the population of all Vermilionmon, and I never got this move. As the chances to learn moves are highly increased in this hack, I was pretty sure that this is a bug, and since our brain stat is already at the maximum, I had no chance of getting this move. So what I did was, I did the other events that were still open, which were only 2. It was the Nanimon everywhere, and it was the Vaidmon, and then it was only Coelamon missing. I saved the game, and I started cooking off stream, and I came up with the following. I finally learned that poison may actually be pretty good, and I saw that Meramon learns Poison Powder. So this was actually massive, because Poison Powder has an around, I think it's 60% of poisoning. I also went with Ice Statue, because so far I only went for the damage and maybe they have a side effect. But when I checked the percentage chance of stunning, Ice Statue had the highest stunning chance. The only move that got close was, I believe, Thunder Justice, but since Thunder Justice gets interrupted too often, I went for the Ice Statue. And I also believe that Ice Statue has the type advantage, but I'm not sure about that. So the tactic was, don't get poisoned within 2 moves, poison them themselves, hopefully a double poison, maybe a triple poison would be ideal, but at least a double poison must be the way. And I actually tested this before I got on stream, because I didn't want to have another try of like 2 hours not making any progress. And I actually had a try offline where I knocked them all out, and then Meramon died to the poison, and it counted as a loss. Yeah, so that at least gave me the confidence, okay, this is doable. What I have not mentioned so far is I actually put ARB back into our arsenal. The reasoning being, it does not always crash the game, and I simply cannot afford to not use my best move in this fight, simple as that. So in this fight you can see the tactic going pretty well. I think all 3 of them are poisoned, I can't see it for the last one. Ice Statue stunning them, massive damage with ARB. This finisher is pretty wasted, but I just want to get rid of the first Coelamon. So you can see we are already doing so much better than the last times. But unfortunately ARB massively glitches the game again, despite there only being 2 Digimon left. So what I did afterwards is I tried to use ARB very, very, very rarely to not cause this glitch, especially in runs that are looking pretty good. And another problem that came to me later was if I lock Meramon on a move like Poison Powder or Ice Statue, and then switch target, because I said this before, it is worth to stun a target, switch target, stun the next target because of the long stun timer. There's a chance that if you press the switch command, or no, there is no chance, it is actually guaranteed. If you press the switch command, it does not save your last used move. So there is a chance I push the switch command and Meramon actually goes for ARB on his own, which could crash the game. So that was another problem that I had. You can actually see the try in the background going pretty well, but unfortunately the poison just is too much again. Another try which was ruined by ARB, and you can actually see I'm completely off the map. You can see where my tamer is looking at. I don't even think the finisher of them connects, yeah. And another close try, very close try. Unfortunately he blocks the frozen stature and I die. Ice statue and I die because of the stun. This right now is basically just greatest hits of failing graphical glitches. I mean, look at this. This was new. I did not have this before, but the funniest thing is you can see that it's actually close. Another attempt that started really great with a freaking triple poison. I went for the defend command because I was afraid they would go for their poisoning attack. But since they all just buffed them up, I went for the Ice Statue. And here you can actually see what I talked about. I went for the switch target for the Ice Statue and he goes for the ARB, which thank God did not crash the game because this was a very good try. I was not poisoned, they were all 3 poisoned. I only took 70 HP of damage. All of my Ice Statues are connecting so far. And the buffing of them does not really matter. Yes, their stats will be maxed out, but it's completely fine. I'm close to my finisher. It's very greedy actually that I got to use the finisher here, but I just wanted to have the first one off. And I should now go. I'm actually surprised I did not do this earlier. But yeah, I should not have gone for Ice Statue here. I should have gone for the Poison Powder to interrupt their finishers, which I do now. There comes the Poison Powder and there it is. It actually interrupts the finisher. It's actually better that I use Poison Powder here than ARB. Even without the glitch, Poison Powder is just a little bit more reliable in my experience. But yeah, it's actually going pretty wrong right now. Like, this is a very good double block from Meramon, and this is a very good stun, but before that it was not looking too great. And now we are also poisoned. Close to our finisher, but I still want to go at... They will also be close to their finisher, but I still want to fire off mine to get the first one done, second one gone. And this felt like it must be it. Yes, he gets his finisher off. Damage should be okay. We should be at like 3-7. Yeah, we are for 3-6. And I was like, okay, just Ice Statue, and it does not work. So I went for the defend command, which worked out beautifully. And then he defends. He blocked my attack. I tried to block. I don't manage to do it. We finally land an Ice Statue and we even stun him. I'm like, okay, this is it. This must be it. This con goes still horribly wrong, but it looks so well. I tried to go for the defense, but actually Meramon goes for the Ice Statue himself and finishes the freaking fight. I cannot emphasize how hard this was and how long this took. I think it was like... The footage is maybe 2 or 3 hours with speed up. And this is without the offline tries. Okay, not 2 hours, but it was definitely the longest fight that I had in this hack so far. And while I was very frustrated during it and while I was playing it, this was so much fun. And this made me actually so hyped for the True Hardcore variant, it's called, I believe. Because the True Hardcore variant implements Digimon that have stats outside of the maximum stat range, I believe. I saw Digimon with like 25,000 HP. And I really want to try that out. Because that looks... it was just so much fun, man. So yeah, this was actually it for my Vice playthrough. I am aware that there are some optional bonus fights in this, were like a Phoenixmon fight in Mount Panorama. But the thing is, those are all 1v1s, and at this point 1v1s did not feel worth it anymore to do, and I still wanted to save something for the hardcore variant. So yeah, this was actually it. As you can see, 20 hours of in-game time, which is actually pretty fast, I have to say. There was a lot of saving, loading, save states using, but yeah, this was actually it. And man, I cannot thank Vice enough for this beautifully put together hack. As I mentioned at the beginning, this game holds a very special place in my heart. Not only because of nostalgia, but there are just so many little things in this game that perfectly itch my brain. I cannot even describe what exactly it is, but when I found out that there were mods for this, or that there's this device mod, and that there's a difficulty adjustment modification, I was so hyped. And going into this, I actually did not think it would be this fleshed out. Like, I am flabbergasted by how great this is. But yeah, I just love learning the ins and outs of this game, and while I have or had above average knowledge about this game, I learned so much during this playthrough about optimizing movesets, using the right moves, actually using other moves than you usually do, and how to use the commands effectively. And I am so thankful for that. I cannot repeat this and emphasize this as much as I want to. So yeah, I also want to give a quick shout out to the YouTuber Guide to Nerdhood for actually inspiring me to kind of return to Digimon World. I have this phase once a year where I play this game, and seeing his videos that are really well done actually motivated me to do this playthrough and to actually make it as a live stream, record the footage, and cut it together for this compilation video. And I'm just so grateful that it reignited my spark for this game. So yeah, for myself, this will definitely not be the end of Digimon World. Be it the vanilla or the Vice game, I've already started an all-metal playthrough, which I really want to do in the vanilla game because I've never done this before. And if you're interested and you're still here, thank you so much for watching this and for joining me on this journey. And I hope I'll see you next time on the next journeys. I really do not care about likes or subs, but if you would write a comment or if you want to interact with me on Blue Sky, the link is in the description. I would very much appreciate that because I truly enjoy the interactions in this community and with people who are as borderline obsessed with this game as much as I am. And if you are still here, you probably kinda are. And I have to admit, this was so much more work than I anticipated. Not the streaming, but cutting together the footage, getting the knowledge for how to cut this, how to edit this, because this is my first time in 8 years that I've edited a video. I'm not over-exaggerating when I say this was probably above 20 work hours altogether. And now I'm finally done with this voiceover. I am so completely burned out. The streams will continue. I will see how I'll do the next compilation videos because, oh my, this was a lot of work. Anyway, enough rambling, and I hopefully see you on my next journey.